Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. This is Eman, the Mass Media Group. I'm gonna go ahead. If you in the comments, if you could let me know if you can hear me, please. We're having to do a phone conversation today, so I just want to make sure, technically speaking, we are ready to go. If everybody can let us know that you can hear me, greatly appreciate it, and then we will get this thing started. All right. Well, while everyone is letting me know if you can hear me, I'm just going to go through some in-house stuff. As usual, go to reparationsnowdoc.com. That's reparationsnowdoc.com. Get all access and behind the scenes as well. Now on Tubi, to watch on Tubi. You can watch the documentary reparationsnow.com. And go to the Mass Media Group store. That's etmmediagroupstore.com. That's etmmediagroupstore.com. And if you shop on Amazon, please go to our affiliate link. Should be listed in the description. We greatly appreciate that to support our channel and platform. All right, so let's see. Wonderful, wonderful. Shout out to Reach Trackers. Okay, everybody can hear. Right. All right, Elaine, can you say something, please, just to make sure that it's anything?
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Okay, can you guys hear that? Elaine said, hi, everybody. Pretty sure that they can. I mean, I can hear you, but let's see if everybody can hear you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. This is live, so I know normally if this is pre-recorded, we'd have it all edited, cut up. We're going live. So if anyone in the building can let us know, greatly appreciate it. Bruce Tracker said, hear Mommy Elaine well. All right.
Good. Okay, good.
Good. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. And real quick, also, if you have a chance, please go on to our ETM Mass Media Group to check out Senator Stephen Bradford's wonderful conversation that we had about reparations and his future involvement in politics here in California. And also, if you have not yet had a chance, this morning we did I would say brief, but it's somewhat brief, not really. Go to ETM Media Group store, not ETM Media Group store, but the channel to check out the 3/5 compromise and electoral college debacle. So thanks everyone for joining. I don't know how long we're going to be here. It could be 15 minutes. It could be an hour. Who knows? But we definitely want to give Elaine her time so she can explain situation, unfortunate circumstance that happened to her daughter. So, Elaine, I guess let's find out. Let's figure if we can kind of go into yourself. You know who you are, and then segue into your daughter and your family. But first of all, can you let people know kind of who you are, where you were born, and where you grew up?
Yes. So my name's Elaine MacKay, and I was born in Bellflower, California. I grew up most of my life in California. Moved away when I was 15 to Michigan, and returned back to California when I was 17. Kind of moved around a little bit from El Cajon to Inglewood and Culver City and Hollywood. And the last place I lived before I moved to Colorado was in South Central. So pretty familiar with all of Los Angeles, from the Valley to, Beverly Hills and all of that. And I moved to Colorado in 2008 so my kids could have a better quality of life rather than being, surrounded by a lot of gangs and violence, and try to move them somewhere where it's more rural, a little bit more country. We actually live in Maine now, a lot more rural than Colorado Springs. Daelena was living with me here until October 29th, 2022. She moved away to Texas, and yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much, I'm the mom, and my daughter, Daelena Mackay, was 20. I keep going into, I don't know, that's pretty much about me. I'm artistic, I'm creative, I write poetry, I draw, I paint, and I'm just kind of like all over the place right now. So it's best to just ask me questions, because I don't know what to really say about me, myself. The only thing I think about is Daelena every day.
All right. Well, you did mention that you are an artist and you have some creativity, it sounds like. One,
Yes.
how has this daughter, has it impacted kind of that side of you? Are you able to kind of express yourself through your creative process at all, or do you just tend to just leave your creative process alone?
Actually, I am. Sorry. Yeah, I am. I've been trying to focus on just creating. I just started a TikTok account for her called Justice for Day. So I wasn't on TikTok previously before this, and so I'm learning how to navigate that app. And I've just been creatively trying to post up photos and bring awareness to the injustice that's happened with my family and happened to my daughter. By doing that, it's pretty much my main focus every day, is just trying to create a video every day to help be her voice.
Okay. Now you have a daughter and you also have a son, correct?
I have 5 children. I've had 6. I lost one. My last child was tubal, and I had that child cremated. So yeah, I had 5 living, and now I have 4. I have 1 son and 3 other daughters.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, are your children with you, or are they living throughout other parts of the U.S. or somewhere else in the world?
My son is back in California. His father and a lot of his family is out there. I don't know if you're familiar with the actor Darnell Williams, first African American to be on a soap opera way back in the days. Mm-hmm. That's one of his uncles, and so his family is pretty based out there also, and so he moved back there with his dad. And then I have my oldest that lives in Florida with my 2 grandsons, and then my 2 younger children are still living here with me. They're still not adults yet, so
still young.
Yeah, 11 and 13. So my oldest 13. Is 20, about to be 27, and so my son's 23, and Daelena would have been 21. So
yeah, I have 2 young adults. My daughter is, and that's why this is so touching, right? My daughter is 21, turning 22 this year. My son is 19, turning 20. So, right. This definitely hits home. Anybody who has a child at any age, really.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I did want to play a clip from the news, and I know because you're on the phone, we're having a phone conversation, you won't be able to hear it. But before I play the clip, can you kind of explain your daughter, who she is, and just give us kind of an idea of what her goals and dreams are?
Daelena was a lot like myself and her father. She, really wanted to pursue modeling and acting. I even did a film with her when I was taking classes at LACC for cinema and psychology. I'm taking acting and psychology at LACC and graduated in 2008. I did a film with her. It was about chasing the ice cream truck, and so Daelena was just a natural actress from a very young age, and she always wanted to pursue that. She wanted to pursue college also. Very young, she always loved learning. She was very creative, very talented in writing. She always talked about, one day sitting in, at the coffee shop with her laptop and her books. She loved to read and just writing, creativity runs in the family. She loved to paint, draw. She was beautiful. She was just so full of life, and she loved life. I'm sorry. she loved life so much, and she was so sweet. You know, she had an angelic voice.
Take your time. Take your time. No rush.
It's just like, you know, when she would walk into the room, she just lit up the room so much. Her spirit was so kind. When she was a little girl, she just loved to, like, she was that spirit that would make you stop to just smell the flowers. Like, I mean, one time I actually took her to college with me because I didn't have childcare at the time, and so she went with me, and on the way, it was like, she was like, "Mama, look at that pretty flower. Can we smell it?" And so we stopped to smell the flower, and then she was like, "Mama, look at that tree. Isn't it so beautiful?" And there was a guy that was in the courtyard, and he heard her say that, and I mean, he like yelled at everyone to like just shut up, stop talking, to listen to that little girl. He's like, God is speaking through her right now, because that's what matters, is like life. And that's what she taught anyone she came across, was how much to love life and to enjoy it to the fullest. She was very courageous, and that's just how I know, like, you know, a mother knows. And if anyone was to ask me who was the most like me, I would answer her. She was the most like me, and I've been through so much life, losing my own parents at 14 and 19, but I never, ever gave up because I love life so much, and I created life because that's how much I love life. And so I just know, I know that my daughter would never have hurt herself. She had so many goals in life, and she had just got back with the love of her life, Alessandro. They were like star-crossed lovers. She would tell me so much about how they believed that they had loved each other in past lives. And he had just got back with him in January, and she had everything she wanted. She was about to graduate on June 4th, and she worked her butt off to double major in cinematography and English in just a year. Like, when she told me that, I told her how proud I was, because I took 3 years to get my degree, but she just worked so hard, you know, to do it in a year. And she was going to transfer to UCLA, and just, you know, she was looking forward to her 21st birthday. She was telling everybody how excited she was to finally become like a legal adult, you know, and she was going to go visit her sister in Florida on June 8th to June 10th. And we still haven't looked into that yet, but I know my daughter, and when she has the date set, that means she bought the ticket already. And I still have to get looking into that information. But yeah, she was just, anyone who knows her can tell you how much she loved life. She was an amazing soul.
All right, well, let's we're gonna take a quick break here. We're gonna actually play a clip. Looks like Channel 4. I'm not exactly sure where this station is located, to be honest with you, but I know it said Channel 4 somewhere.
Is that NBC LA Channel 4?
I think so. Yeah, I believe it's NBC, which I'm probably sure you've already seen the clip. We're not going to actually play the full clip. We're probably going to play just about maybe 30 seconds to a minute of it.
Okay.
But afterwards, after we play the clip, I just, kind of ask you some questions so we can, get further into why you still want to pursue it. So go ahead and play this clip, and then we will be right back.
The family of a young woman found dead in Hollywood, and what police say was a suicide says they want the police and coroner to take another look.
The family says the coroner never did an autopsy. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. Investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us live with more on what happened here. Eric.
Well, Michael and Colleen, 20-year-old Daelena Mackay's family says this is really a case of what didn't happen. They say they're upset her death was ruled a suicide without what they say should have been Investigation 101. They say there were no signs of mental distress and no note.
Did she take her life, or was her life taken from her, is like the question that we shouldn't necessarily have to be asking.
Kayvon MacKay says he and his parents can't understand why it appears little was done to find out what happened to his younger sister, Daelena, on May 23rd, about a month before her 21st birthday. MacKay was about to graduate from LA City College. She wanted to move on to UCLA and hoped to follow in her father's footsteps to become an actor.
People were attracted to her, if that makes sense. Like, her personality and everything she wanted to do, from like modeling to acting, it was like that was her little niche.
Her family tells the I-Team she was in the process of finding a new place to live because she had broken up with her boyfriend, who shared her apartment on the 3rd floor of this building at Hollywood Boulevard in Argyle. And it was here where the boyfriend told police he and Daelena argued the night she died after he allegedly discovered she was chatting with a former boyfriend in Texas. According to this police report, they continued to argue about the phone call, and the boyfriend left to de-escalate the situation. When he returned, he told officers he found her hanging from a scarf tied around a shower curtain rod above the bathtub. The report says he called 911 and did CPR. Paramedics took over, but pronounced Daelena dead just after midnight.
All right, so the clip just ended, and I know this is a really difficult situation, so I appreciate you being very brave, not only for yourself, but your family, and especially your daughter.
Thank you.
All right, so I did see your son. Is it Kayvon? Did I pronounce his name correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank
Okay.
you.
Is Kayvon, is he still currently in South Los Angeles or Southern California?
Yes.
He is, okay. And so I guess, did you and him have a conversation before he actually had that interview at all?
Yes, because they were going to do the interview with me, but they didn't realize I was in Maine. So I told them to go ahead and reach out. They reached out to my son first through the GoFundMe, and he told me about it, and then I reached out to them, and then they were going to do an interview with me until they found out I was in Maine. And then I suggested they meet with my son so he could speak for the family since he was right there, and it worked well for them. So, and I also gave them a couple of her friends out there that I met when we were out there for the funeral, in case they wanted to reach out to them as well, just so they could get a little more idea about who Daelena was. But he said he was good with what Kayvon had said, and so that's how that kind of happened there.
And was Kayvon and Daelena, did they have a pretty good relationship?
Yeah, they did. They had a good relationship, but my son, he moved away to go live with his dad when he was 12. We always talked about that when he was in my womb still, that if we didn't, stay together, what would happen. And we always discussed that I would nurture him up until his puberty years, and then puberty years he would go live with his dad so his dad could raise him to become a man. It's kind of our beliefs, so the shared views of, he needed me to nurture him and care for him and give him all of the femininity of a mom, and then he needed his dad to teach him how to become a man in his later years. So he moved away then, so he was pretty upset. That's kind of his thing is that, with Daelena finally moving back to LA, and then they're both being adults, they were looking forward to going to, hanging out more together. She was about to become legal. They were going to go to a rave together. He wanted to just, be able to get to know her now as an adult, because, he did move away, and he would come back in the summers, but it still wasn't the same as, they grew up for 12 years, spending every day together. And then it was only during the summers, and then he was just really looking forward to that, spending that adult life with her, and, being able to go party and hang out with friends and, just do things like that. And it got cut short.
And he was, he was in Southern California at the particular time that your daughter transitioned?
Yes.
He was, okay. And
yes.
I'm asking these questions because obviously I don't know your son. So he's,
right.
At the time he was over 21, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he's 23.
He's 23. Shout out to the young man.
Yeah.
So, once again, if there's anything you don't feel comfortable about answering, definitely, it's your choice not to. I think we're just trying to hear from your side of the story and why you still want to pursue this. So, it did mention in the clip that you, being the family, still wanted to pursue, Daelena's untimely death. Maybe I should ask just a general question instead of a specific question. Why did you decide to pursue Daelena's untimely death at the time?
Well, so first off, I had a bad feeling that something was going to happen. So, mothers were just, kind of in tune with our children, and I had been trying to get a hold of her for like a week. So I had actually talked to her a little bit less than 24 hours. I talked to her on the 21st at 2 a.m. my time. So it would have been the 22nd on my day, but it was still the 21st because it was 2 a.m. here Eastern Standard Time. She called me at 2 a.m. and we talked for about 10 minutes. She seemed fine. She just said that she was waiting for the lease to be up, that it would be up soon, and she was really excited about that. She was excited about graduating. She told me about her winning the poetry contest that she won in May. And so she said she was tired, but that was because she had been working so hard and working so hard in school, studying to accomplish that in just a year. And so she just said she was excited for all of that to be finally kind of done with, that she can move on and transfer to UCLA. And other than that, she just was the same old Daelena, just still full of life and full of very much excitement. Told me about her going to visit her sister, and so we had just a great 10-minute conversation. She said she wanted to get off the phone because she needed to get some sleep because she had work the next day. And she told us all that she loved us, and she told us goodbye. And that was the last time that I spoke to her. And it was like I said, 2 a.m. 22nd, and then here it was on the 24th. I'm getting a phone call telling me that my daughter killed herself, and it was like there was no way. I immediately said no. The boyfriend did it. There's no way. There's no way my daughter would do something like that to herself. And the way they described it to me was no way. What are you saying? The medical examiner at one point got an attitude with me and was like, "Ma'am, what I'm trying to tell you is your daughter first tried to cut herself, then she tried to drown herself, and then she successfully hanged herself." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Drown herself? What?" "Yes, ma'am. She tried to drown herself in the bathtub." And I said, "That's impossible. That's just physically impossible. What are you talking about?" It just, none of what the story of what they were telling me made any sense whatsoever. It just was not something that my daughter would do. And, and some people say things like, "Well, you don't know everything about people." And it's like, no, my family, my children, we're really close. And we know everything about each other. She shared everything with me since she was very little. She was always very open. Anything that she thought of in her head, she was openly expressive about it. And so I just knew that there's no way that my daughter did what they said that she did. She wasn't an aggressive person like that to aggressively hang herself from a shower rod. It just didn't make no sense to me. And so I just knew there's no way. And so I began, I called the LAPD the following day on the 25th. It was that Saturday, and they told me in the Hollywood division, and the officer told me, "Well, ma'am, when this guy has influence and money and influence," is what he told me, and so we're not going to investigate. And so I immediately started investigating myself, and it took me 6 days to come up with the evidence, because especially when they were telling me, oh yeah, her boyfriend, and I'm like, well, they were broken up since January, so that didn't match up. There were so many things that didn't match up. I even had to speak to him myself, and in a 16-minute conversation that I recorded, I got him to basically say things that was different than what he said to the police, and so there was, his story wasn't matching up, and so they eventually opened up what they consider like a homicide inquiry into it, but they again didn't do a full investigation because the detective only spoke to the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend again, who was claiming to be her boyfriend, and she only spoke to him over the phone. She didn't call him to the office. She didn't speak to his alibi. She didn't ping his phone to make sure where he was, that he was where he said he was. She didn't talk to neighbors. Because even in our investigation, we found that there was 2 incident reports in the apartment security where neighbors had called on domestic violence disputes in previous past, and so security had to come to their apartment, and these are documented. And in the detective's statement, she said that there was no history of domestic violence whatsoever, which is false. And so there was just, like I said, there was so much that just wasn't adding up. It just didn't make sense. So the fact that they had been broken up since January, the fact that we all knew that she was dating Alessandro again since January, she would have never abandoned him like that. She loved him more than the world. She loved him so much. She loved her family so much. She just talked to us. She made plans with us. There was no way that she would have just left all of us like that. She was too kind and too gentle, and then the fact that she's an English major and she loves to talk and she loves to write. She would have wrote a note, and I think she would have wrote a note to every single last one of us, separate letters. She wouldn't have just, said, and this is what they're saying, that she sent an I love you always text message to the ex-boyfriend who was her roommate. And we know that that's not true because he was giving the story that they were dating. So that would match his story of her saying that to him, that they consider that her suicide note. But we know that they had broken up and that she couldn't stand him and was getting, so happy to be able to get away from him and to move into her own place. So that wouldn't have been the last person she would have sent the message to. And then the fact that, speaking to Alessandro, he sent me screenshots of their messages from that entire day of the 24th. They talked all day long, and she went to go see the Mad Max movie, and she was so excited when she got back and, was saying how, that movie went so hard. I'm going to get a robot arm. She was, being her funny self and excited and happy, in her tone. Her last thing that she was doing at 10:31 p.m. was she was looking at TikTok videos, and she found one of this guy who was 80 years old and who was in love with this lady that he never got to be with because it was a long distance relationship, and that's what her and Alessandro have always had, was long distance, and they always would visit each other back and forth. And so she said, "This reminds me of you," and then she sent that to him. And that was the last message. And then they're trying to say that, right after she sent that to Alessandro, she sends us "I love you always" to the the ex-boyfriend. I don't want to say his name. I don't know if I legally can, but the ex-boyfriend there, roommate. And so we just know that that's not true. That's not something she would have done.
So did the investigators ever take any pictures in the scene to corroborate kind of what they're claiming to be a quote unquote alleged suicide?
Yes, we were able to finally on the 19th, which was the day after her celebration of life services, we finally got to speak to the supervising homicide detective at the Rest Bureau. And we didn't get to see everything that we wanted to see. We only saw a little bit, but they did show us some. That's also one of our concerns, was because the body cam actually shows the LA Fire Department. So supposedly that my daughter was actually alive when they arrived on scene. And so instead of rushing her to the hospital, they only administered CPR for 30 minutes. And in the body cam, when you see the LA Fire Department administering the CPR, you can hear the machine says, press harder, press harder, press harder. Well, I'm CPR certified, and I know that those machines are telling you what to do, and it's telling you to press harder. And so you need to press harder. And once you press harder, it'll stop saying that. But that's all you can hear is it just keeps repeating, press harder. And he's not doing what he's supposed to do in order to save her life. And I believe that she would actually still be alive today if they had rushed her to the hospital when they got there. Like, that in itself does not make no sense that she was alive, breathing, had a pulse, and they did not rush her to the hospital. They stuck some sort of IV in her arm and then administered CPR that was not proper.
All right, so this is going to be a tough question. So if you want to answer this or not, it's totally up to you. So in terms of the police report and the suicide and her attempt to hang herself, did they kind of explain to you like how that came about? And like, it's just so we can just kind of get from your perspective how they, talk to you in terms of their investigation. It didn't sound like it was thorough enough, but I'm just trying to get an understanding.
Yeah, so their investigation, I mean, from what they told me what they did, there was no investigation. So according to the ex-boyfriend roommate, he came home at 11:38 and found her hanging, facing, on her knees, facing the bathtub, is what he explains. And I said, well, how did he get her down? So according to him, he held her up with one arm and untied the knot with one hand. So if you think that that's logical, then I don't know what you're thinking, because how can someone untie a knot that's supposed to be tight enough to strangle and hang someone with one hand while you're holding a body up with one hand? All so that's what he said he did. He said he held her up with one hand, untied the knot with one hand, and then laid her down and administered CPR. And then according to him, he told me he was administered CPR for about 7 minutes. And this is also according to the medical examiner, that on another recorded phone call, she also said the same thing, that he administered CPR for 7 minutes until fire department arrived and took him out of the apartment. And then they started administering CPR. However, the footage that we were shown at the homicide division was that he actually he came out of the apartment, came down the elevator to let them in the apartment. So that kind of doesn't match the story. And then,
So do they have evidence of was it a scarf?
Well, the scarf was still hanging. It was still tied to the shower rod. Like the scarf was still tied to the shower rod, just hanging there. And she was already on the ground. So when they came in, they're going off of basically everything of what he said happened, what he said he found. So they didn't actually investigate the scene or anything. So in looking at the photos from the scene, I saw that she had a stud earring in her left ear, up in the top part of the ear. I don't know right now the correct terminology of that part of the ear, but up there in the cartilage area. And there was blood in that stud. So that tells you that her earring was hit that day. Her ear was hit that day by something, because her stud of her earring was bleeding. She had two earrings that she also apparently was wearing, because in one of the photos they had rolled her over to take photos of her back, and you can see one of the earrings was actually laying under her back the entire time. The other earring, I don't know where it was, but the coroner's office gave those to my son when he picked up her belongings. And so my son said, who wears earrings when they're going to hang themselves? And she was also naked. So that's another question, is normally when they, have a body go to a coroner's office, they normally only give you the things that they were wearing. like they took out the stud earring out of her ear, they took out her nose earring, but it was like, why did they bring the hoop earrings? Like, why did they bring that with her body when they were already out her ears in the scene? Because both of her earrings were off of her ears in the scene. Like I said, one was behind her, which to me that all suggests some sort of struggle happened. The earrings fell off, then her body was laid on top of it, you know? So those were some concerns. And then I don't know if you want me to go into the detail of having to view her body at the mortuary and then the concerns of the desecration of her body just yet, or if you want to
Yeah, sure. If you want to, that's to live to.
Yeah, so those are the things that I noticed in the photos. Like I said, the stud piercing earring was still in her ear and there was blood around it. And then at the mortuary, when I had to look at her body on the first day on June 12th, when I arrived in LA, I went straight to the mortuary, straight to see her. And of course, they had the body bag up to her, just her face, and you know, the lady who works there asked him about the bruising on her arm, and so I said, okay, well, I have to see her arm. So they unzipped the bag and they showed me her arm, and her arm on the inner of her right arm has a bruise. And the coroner's report does not mention any bruise. It only mentions the superficial cuts on her left arm, on the inside of her left arm, and it only mentions her tattoos. So I said, okay, well, this is apparently definitely a bruise. So we took a picture of the bruise on the inner side of her arm, and then I noticed that she had blood up around her neck, above her clavicle. And I said, what's this blood and hole here from, you know? Only a toxicology was done, and so I just was wondering, why is she bleeding there? And then I noticed that she also had a red bruise on like the middle of her chest, between her breasts, and then she had a bruise on her left hip, and then the superficial cuts that was on her arm also had bruising on the very first cut, and each cut has finger mark bruising. So like, it's apparent that there was like a hand or something, because they look like finger marks, like the entire finger marks of 4 fingers. And then on top of each one of those finger marks, the first index finger is bruised, and then there's like very light cutting on each mark. So I just thought that was kind of suspicious. And then there was a bruise on the inner of her left thigh. And so that was what I viewed on the first day. And so what we automatically was like, okay, something's up here. Like, you know, why did they mention the bruise on her inner arm? So then on the 13th, I decided I needed to go back and, you know, just being in spirit that night of the 12th and just trying to communicate with my daughter. I just knew I have to go back. There's more that I didn't see. So I went back on the 13th.
Okay, Elaine, can you just hold that thought? Please?
Yeah.
Someone's saying that the audio dropped.
Okay.
So you went back on the 13th. Let me see, just make sure that the settings. Okay, test 1, 2. Okay, I can hear things. Family, can you let us know? Someone in the comments said that the audio dropped. Let me check on my end just to make sure that everything's okay.
Okay. I think I probably put my phone away from my mouth.
Oh, no, you're absolutely fine. Okay, they're saying it's back up. All right, let me just double check too on this end. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. Let's see here. That. All right. Thank you, family, for your patience. Appreciate it. Just want to make sure that here. right. I think we are good to go. Let me see here. So it sounds like we are good to go. Okay.
Okay, and so like on June 12th, the other thing I noticed too, because I was expecting to see bruising around her neck, ligature marks, bruising, but we didn't see none of that. So there's redness that we noticed on the right side of her body. So her right side of her body, her right ear, her right neck, down into like her shoulder above her clavicle was all kind of red, and her ear was all swollen. Her right eye was swollen. The left eye was actually sunken in. The left side of her neck had no ligature marks, no redness, no nothing to support a hanging. The right side, like I said, only has redness, but it doesn't go up around her ears like the report says, the coroner's report says. It goes actually straight back to her neck, and there is about 4 scratch marks on her right side of her neck that goes down, which to me says she was trying to pull away, possibly with her right. To me, they seem like they're defensive marks, that she was trying to pull something away from her neck with her right hand and scratched her neck in the process. Because that's the right side is the only side where all like the damage is mostly, besides the left stud earring being bloody. So we noticed that all, on the very first day that we saw her, which was June 12th. And then June 13th, when I went back to observe her entire body, is when I had him pull her over so we could see her backside, and that's when I saw that there was blood all over her back. And I said, "What is all this blood from?" I know I saw the 2 puncture holes on the front of her neck on the first day with a little dribble of blood that I thought maybe could be from like the toxicology. The one hole could be from the toxicology, right? He pulled blood from her jugular. But what is all this blood on her back? It was all over her back. It was on the white body bag. It was like a lot of blood. And that's not something that a phlebotomy would, you don't bleed that much from a phlebotomy. So where's all this blood coming from? So the guy who helped me, who works at the mortuary, who was helping me, he wiped her back with a white hand towel, and sure enough, she's got 2 to 3 puncture holes that are on her back. And so these are injuries that were not even in the crime scene.
Wow.
Photos. She wasn't bleeding in the crime scene photos whatsoever. And so I was like, that's another reason why an autopsy needs to be done, because not only did they never get an exact time of death, they even put rigor mortis was altered on the report, which suggests something foul happened. But, there's something else that killed her. Like, I don't even believe she was strangled. I almost believe that she was drowned, possibly. And then it's staged to look like a hanging. Because there's no bruising. If she was hanging for as long as they suggest that she was hanging for, which is at least over an hour, she would have bruising and ligature marks still on her neck, after the fact. The police tried to explain away the bruising that we thought we might be seeing was lividity, but I have the photos, and I clearly can know what the lividity is, and I clearly know what bruises are. So you can see it as clear as day that the bruises are bruises and lividity is lividity. So she had bruising that the coroner report did not mention. And then, like I said, the puncture holes, they did not mention. They try to explain the way the 1 puncture hole, again, with it being toxicology done, which I said, okay, that's fine. You can explain away the 1 hole on her front of her body, but what about the 2nd hole on the front of her body? And then what about the 2 to 3 holes that's on the back of her body? Why is the back of her body bleeding all over, enough to have blood all over her back? And that's something that they haven't been able to explain. And I've been trying to talk with the coroner since, the May 24th, and still have yet to speak with him. So I had a second case opened up for the desecration of her body, which they're looking into it. I've sent them the photos because they, like I said, they said, oh, well, we talked to the coroner and that's just done. The puncture holes from the toxicology. Well, okay, like I said, that doesn't explain the 2 to 3 holes on the back of her body. It doesn't explain all the blood on the back of her body. because of we all gotten our blood drawn, and you don't bleed that much. There's a lot of blood. And I was just, I was so distraught. I should have called 911 right away, but it was like there was a lot going on. It was a lot to process. It was very hard for me to even do that, to have to take those photos. Like, I was shaking, and I'm trying to get clear photos because I'm just trying to get justice for my daughter and collect the evidence that I needed to collect before her body gets cremated. And I'm still trying to raise the funds to do a private autopsy, and the father does not want one. So he doesn't, at first he said he did, but now he says he doesn't want one, which baffles me because of the fact that we found her bleeding. And so I have to come up with all the funds myself, and that's been very difficult.
Well, we're gonna definitely, I'm gonna repost. I think I did put it in the description of the video, but I'm also gonna repost it in the chat. Please, family, share the GoFundMe link so we can help Elaine out with this unfortunate situation with her daughter, so we can get some resolve with this. We do actually. There's two more questions before we get out of here. Now, I know you mentioned that you might not be able to say anything about the ex-boyfriend, at least his name. Can you describe at least, not in detail, but kind of like, who he is, maybe what he does, etc., so we can kind of get an understanding of who this person is who was at the scene?
So the one thing with him is that Daelena shared everything with me, like I said, her whole life. I know everything about her and Alessandro's relationship. When it came to him in particular, she didn't share very much with me. So, like in January, when I spoke to her and she told me how they broke up, was really the first time she ever really talked much about him. And she just said that he was, taking care of things financially still, and that he did all of the cooking and wouldn't let her cook anything. And I kind of thought that was a little suspicious. I've learned more about him from the statements from the friends that she knew, and from reading screenshots of a conversation that she had with her and Alessandro, and conversation that she had with her friend in Texas, Joy. In those conversations, she tells them how he did treat her like a princess financially. However, in other ways, he treated her like trash. 3 of her friends in Los Angeles who came to visit us and actually came to the homicide division on the 13th, because I told them what I had found, and actually it was the 14th, and so they were like, oh my gosh. So they were like, we'll go there with you. And that's all they talked about, was how he constantly would put her down. She was like the center of his jokes. He would constantly tell her she was going to end up on the streets and in the trash if she left him. He used his money basically to control her. There's a conversation where she's telling Joy that he threatened to actually kill himself several times if she left him. And that every time she tried to break up with him, she wouldn't. But there is a conversation that in January where she tells Joy, I finally did it. I broke up with him. And then Joy was like, well, what is it going to be like living with him? Is it going to be weird? And she's like, oh, it's going to be okay, I guess. It might be a little weird, but she just said how she was saving money to move. And so she's like, and I, looking for my own place, and I'll be able to take care of myself, because that's what he was holding over her, was that well, I have all the money, and with a private investigator looking into him, he just applied for a Social Security card, and there's no work history for him. So where is he getting the money to pay for a luxury apartment that's over $3,000 a month? So it's our big question. Who is this guy?
So how old is this person, roughly?
He's 27, I believe.
Okay, so he's 27. And do you know what he does for his career or whatever?
I know that he's a photographer and a filmmaker. So he graduated college for filmmaking, in photography. So he's from Russia, and I know he lived in Boston, and his parents still live in Boston. So his phone number is a Boston number still. So I know he went from Boston to Texas, and then from Texas he moved to Los Angeles with my daughter. As of anything else, it's like it's like he's a ghost. There's nothing we can find on him. The private investigator cannot find any work history whatsoever on him in terms of how he's making so much money.
All right. Well, just one more question before we get out of here. Someone in the chat says, "Can the family take legal action against the LAPD?" Is that a question? So I don't know if that you can answer that or not.
Yeah, we're looking into doing that. We already started looking into the wrongful death civil lawsuit against the LA Fire Department, because the validity even shows that she died basically on her back, meaning she died during CPR. And like I said, they were not administering CPR properly. The body cam actually shows like I said, and you can hear the machine repeating, press harder, press harder. And then the police officer whose body cam you're viewing, he goes out and walks down the hallway. And as he's walking down the hallway, you can see everyone is just standing around. There's a police officer back against the kitchen with her hands in her pockets, her legs crossed, as if she's just, relaxed. She's not. There's no urgency to save a life. There's no investigating the scene. Nothing. The ex-boyfriend's roommate actually had his current girlfriend, and her other friend out in the hallway. There was several other people out in the hallway, like blocking the hallway. So yeah, there's definitely a lawsuit against the LAPD and the LA Fire Department, because their body cams show that they weren't doing anything really to save her life, and they should have taken her immediately to a hospital, not have done CPR for 30 minutes.
Wow. So I'm so sorry for your loss, and we're all so sorry, for your loss. But whatever you do, she's with us, and she wants you to continue to fight. And,
Definitely.
Anything that we can do to gain some enlightenment to this situation, we definitely will. Once again, family, please, if you can, support at the GoFundMe link. Please do so. And Elaine, definitely, and if you can hold on before we hold on, we're actually going to wrap up pretty soon. I do want to have an offline conversation with you.
Okay.
But just before
thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Before we get out of here, Elaine, is there any social media that outside of the GoFundMe that people can contact you at all if you like?
Yeah, I have, like I said, the TikTok that's Justice for Day, and then I started a Facebook for her, Justice for Day, Daelena Mackay. And then those are two accounts that I set up specifically for her. I do share things on my YouTube, eTab, and then on my Twitter. But that's mainly the ways. It's her Facebook and the TikTok account.
Okay. One more question. What can public do to put pressure on LAPD to further investigate this? From your perspective.
I don't know. I mean, you could call in. Write to them constantly. I think, constantly being out there in the public eye, as much social media coverage that, the more people who share the stories, the more people who are speaking out against the injustice, the more people that are seeing it, truth comes into the light when people shine the light on it. So that's the best way that I can think of. To put that pressure on them, the more that they see that there's people that, just aren't accepting, their narrative, to maybe make them look at it differently.
All right. Well, Yeah, this is hard. This is a tough one. This is really difficult. To get through, because yeah, I don't. It's hard because I think I'm trying to hold my tongue right now. Just trying to do the best that I can with this. Definitely, you have our support. We definitely want you,
Thank you.
to do a follow up. Let us know what's happening. Do you have kind of at this particular point in terms of a timeline? I know it's as soon as possible, but like what in terms
I have
of
to try to
justice,
still raise the
what's your
funds.
timeline?
Yeah, the timeline is I have to raise the funds by this coming week. So like by Friday this week, I need to raise the rest of the funds needed for the autopsy. Otherwise, the mortuary is saying they can't just continue to keep her body there. She's been there since June 18th. Well, she's actually been there since June 11th. We had her celebration of life services on June 18th. She was, embalmed on the 12th. No, she was embalmed on the 13th of June. So, embalming usually only lasts like 7 to 10 days. So we're like well beyond that. So there's just, on my end, I pleaded with the father who, says he has money to help with the autopsy, but for whatever reason, he doesn't feel it necessary. But I do. I'm not going to accept that, what they say. I see her body says a different story, and the fact that she's bleeding and she wasn't bleeding at the scene. There's answers that need to be done, and those answers can only come from a private autopsy. And so it's necessary. It's very, very necessary.
Absolutely. Elaine, we have 2 more questions. This is, are there names and numbers to call the detectives, investigators? Do you have that information? Maybe not handy, but maybe you can send it over later, and then we'll post it. People can get in contact who needs to get in contact with.
I do.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and then repost the information for those who want to contact the investigators or the detectives. So we can go ahead.
Okay. So let me just grab that out for you.
Okay. So I think, Elaine, we don't have actually any more questions. Let's see in the chat.
All right. So the phone number to the West Bureau Homicide Division is 213-382-9470. And the detective that's handling the case is the supervisor, and his name is Sam Morello.
Okay, Sam Morello?
Yes.
Do you know how to spell that?
Yep, it's S-A-M, last name Morello, M-A-R-U-L-L-O.
M-A-R-U-L-L-O. Okay, and what's the division again?
The West Bureau Homicide Division.
West Bureau.
And do you need that number one more time? It's 213-382-94.
All right, Lane, just one more time. What's the number?
213-382-9470.
94. Okay. All right. So family, contact Sam Morello at the West Bureau Homicide. 213-382-9470. That's 213-382-9470.
And do you need the DR number?
What's the DR number?
The DR number is 240-312-31.
Okay, 240. 240.
312.
312.
31.
DR, is that some like detective number or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the report number for the desperation case.
Oh, gotcha.
And so, like, when they're trying, like, if they say, what case is this regarding, you can say Daelena Mackay, but they can look up the cases by those numbers.
Thank you for that. Well, all right. So yeah, so definitely, family, please reach out to them so we can need to put pressure on this, so we can get some justice and information on this, because it just seems like, there's some alleged, I have to say alleged, foul play, that's happening right now, and it sounds like we definitely need some answers for sure. Thank you, Elaine. If you could just hold on for a second and go up.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you again.
Thank you. All right, family. Once again, we will go ahead and wrap this up right now. But please support, Elaine with her daughter, because this is tragic. Nobody should have to go through this. This is ridiculous. And
it's unimaginable. I just can't believe it.
Absolutely. All right, family. Well, we're gonna wrap up here. Love and light, everyone. Please be safe, and we'll see you next time. All right. As always, family. Peace and love.
Bye.
Leading with lineage.
California Reparations Task Force hearings.
Final report recommendations.
California Freedmen Affairs Agency, COFA office.
The Fund for Reparations and Reparative Justice.
Free the land, eminent domain, unjust property taking return.
The Mass Media Group was there. Reparations Now, the documentary where it all began.
Released Juneteenth, 2023.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR rules, don't tune in.
Available to watch on Tubi TV and other streaming outlets. As always, thank you for the support.